Started in time.
We have the quarterback of the Kansas State Wildcats, Big 12 champion Will Howard.
So excited to announce Kansas City Sports Network's new soccer channel.
They're taking advantage of a look that they utilized earlier in the game to show the jet sweep motion.
It's a live edition of the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise.
You kind of root for guys to have those moments, and that was certainly a big moment.
Welcome into Mizzou, that's really your podcast from Missouri Athletics here on KC Sports Network.
Welcome, everybody, to the Border War podcast.
Welcome back. Another episode of Ain't No Season podcast.
You are listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
It's a live edition of the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise Bank, member FDIC. Matthew, happy ring ceremony day. It's the last day before we turn the page to the 2023 season, okay?
Yes, that's what it is. I'm more like my bigger concern here is refreshing Twitter to see if Chris Jones completely skipped the ring ceremony or if he did show up late. Because as of right now, I don't think anyone's spotted him there yet.
I don't think he's holding out for the ring ceremony.
Nah, man. Definitely
He's
not
making
holding
a
out
late
for the
stylish
ring ceremony.
entrance.
I like it.
Listen,
Maybe,
man, he went to the White House. He's going to the ring ceremony. Come on,
but you know what happened
Tin-
post White House?
tinfoil hat.
His boy signed with a different team. Just saying.
Tinfoil hat here. Okay, so I was on 810 with Jason Anderson today.
Bragger.
Humble brag.
You're on next week, Craig. Like this is a
Humble
thing.
brag.
Hey, every Thursday at 11 a.m., one of us is on with Jason Anderson and Josh Briscoe, just so you know. Anyways, it was my turn. And he says that Garrick Deer was on 810 earlier that day, said he ran into Chris Jones and his agent in town yesterday. So he's here. But here's the tinfoil
at the ring ceremony.
Here's the tinfoil. Here's the theory. He doesn't want to answer questions about his contract, so he's not doing the red carpet thing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think that's the most logical thing. By the way, hi, I'm Craig Stout. Thanks for introing me, you guys. We also haven't heard from like Frank or anybody like that too. We know that Juan Thornhill's there, Carlos Dunlap's there, Andrew Wiley's there. Everybody's back, guys. Like they all came back to get the rings. It's a very important thing, as they should be back for all of that, and we should celebrate them even if they're playing for one of the teams that we are going to cover in today's continuation of our season preview.
Yep. I'm just here for 45 minutes of speculating on where Chris Jones is and the reasons he wouldn't be at the ring ceremony. So I think we should.
Do we think he'll wear a hat?
He's not coming. He's not showing up. He will not be there.
Oh, he's showing up.
He's showing up.
Just late.
This is gonna be the.
You're gonna pay $31 million a year to a guy that can't even show up on time. No.
This is gonna age. So
if he shows up to the quarterback on time, baby, let's go.
Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button.
Great
if you're
joke.
watching. Appreciate everybody that's hanging out with us. It means a lot. We are doing our game by game kind of season preview. We are on to weeks 5 and 6. This fine Thursday, we are starting with week 5 at the Minnesota Vikings. Craig, what's the quality of this roster?
I mean, it got worse. It really did. It seems like this is a team that's maybe in the middle of a little bit of a sell mode. We know that Daniil Hunter is a little bit unhappy with his station there. They cut Zadarius Smith. I mean, they cut Dalvin Cook. Like, they're clearly trimming some of the bigger salaries on the roster. I know that they've got to pay Justin Jefferson. That's definitely something that's coming up here. But it does feel a little bit like they're in a transitional period here. The offense has enough pieces to maybe put up some points. Obviously, if you have Justin Jefferson, and you're going to be able to do some stuff here. But TJ Hawkinson is a good football player. Jordan Addison out of that receiver room is a nice piece as well. I worry a little bit about that defense, though. Like, if Danielle Hunter's unhappy and Zadarius Smith is out, where's your pass rush really going to come from? Because linebackers aren't particularly good. The secondary's not great either. Like, I have a lot of questions about that defense. And if they're really trying to tank a little bit here or trying to trim some of the roster in a turnover year, I think that this could be a worse year than we expect for the Vikings.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the offense is shaped up relatively nicely. They're adding a fair bit of weapons around this good offensive system and Kirk Cousins. And for Cousins' shortcomings, he can work well when there is a good surrounding cast, when there's a good offensive system around him. As long as it's not a primetime game, he's going to be just fine for that team. So I think offensively, the team's looking pretty good. I know the Dalvin Cook situation went the way that it did. So losing that kind of talent for this team is obviously a somewhat of a big deal, but the offensive line is solid, if not getting better, because some of the guys are young and improving. The wide receivers is a really good room. Yeah, it's a little top heavy with Justin Jefferson kind of leading the charge, but it's still a good unit. Hawkinson's there to back them up. So like offensively, I think they're set, but defensively, it's hard to peg a guy as a very clear and decided difference maker. That's the big thing you see this defense. That's the one thing that they're kind of missing, especially if Hunter is no longer going to be on the roster, especially if Hunter is going to be traded or is unhappy and you have to figure out what to do. I know they tried to bring in some guys to help that pass rush, but Harrison Smith isn't that guy. The long, standing linebackers they've had there in Minnesota are both gone now. It's all kind of new guys taking over in that role. So I just don't know where the difference makers come on this defense.
They're a roster in flux. I think they're being competitive while kind of mini resetting, mini rebuilding, but it's not going to go the same way that it went for the Kansas City Chiefs. Hey, by the way, join us for our second annual golf tournament with KC Sports Network. It's the Tacos and Bourbon golf tournament this time, July 29th at Sunflower Hills Golf Course in Bonner Springs. There will be drinks and food provided, a lot of food. Thanks to our sponsors, Holladay, Distillery, and Mission Taco, along with prizes, giveaways, a silent auction, and more. Plus, one golfer will have a chance to sink a shot for $1 million. For more information or to sign up a team, which a team is $500 for a foursome, click on the link in the description. For any sponsorship inquiries, you can also reach out to Christian Gumminger at kcsnfoundation@gmail.com. I can tell you the tournament is about half full already, so you want to make sure and get those teams in before you miss out. So you don't want to miss out on that. What's the quality of this coaching staff, Craig?
I actually kind of like the coaching staff. Kevin O'Connell wasn't somebody that was high on when the Vikings signed him. It really wasn't. And he came into the entire season basically preaching becoming situational masters and really kind of focusing on situational moments. And then they went 11-0 in one-score games. So hey, that's that's really awesome. If your head coach comes in preaching that and then you execute like that. They obviously have Brian Flores as their defensive coordinator. So even if they don't have a ton of guys, on that defense, they're going to come up with creative stuff to do. They're going to blitz. They're going to find ways to still affect the quarterback and still come up with a relatively decent defense. Even a down year for Flores is still going to be a pretty decent defense here. I really do think that they've got a good coaching staff here that maybe – outside of Flores, I was a little bit questioning last year, but it's hard to argue with the results and what they came up with last year. When you look at that roster last year too, and you go, oh, wow. Yeah, that also had some pieces missing from it. This coaching staff got them to play well.
No, they really did. And I think for me, I'm going to start kind of with Flores as well, because we've seen him put together really good defenses that have been a lot better than the individual parts. And I think that's what the Vikings are kind of banking on. You're getting guys that Flores agrees to, that Flores likes, that he wants to play with and can teach to play defense the way he wants to. But man, the parts aren't looking that great. So I'm intrigued to see what it looks like. I trust Flores. I just don't know if they've given him a ton to deal with. It also makes me mildly nervous that Mike Pettin, a longtime defensive coach, is also on that staff. And he has conflicting opinions on defensive football that Flores does. So I wonder if you ever get into these kind of battles there, or who kind of is getting the last say. So I think that's worth noting. That said, offensively, I like what O'Connell's done. He seems to very much understand the McVay style of offense, how to run it, and he's adapted it in his own way for this Vikings team. It's not just straight up taking the one-to-one McVay offense from the Rams and bringing it over. Yeah, there's elements of it, but he's found ways to weaponize Justin Jefferson in ways that Cooper Kupp has never even been imagined and being utilized. And they're doing Kirk Cousins isn't the most mobile guy, but they're finding ways to have him not just stand completely still in the pocket all the time, like you sometimes got with Goff or even Stafford with the Rams. And I did one, small shout out to Keenan McCardle, wide receiver coach for the Vikings. I think he's done an excellent job there. And, previous stops, I think he's actually shaping up to be a good wide receiver coach in the league. So solid staff kind of all around, I think.
I think we equate like the rebuilding and all that stuff and the retooling. Like, I think they're doing some changes on the fly to this offense. Like, I don't think they're committed to Kirk Cousins, for instance, when we're talking about the roster and all that stuff. But foundationally, I think they've done a fantastic job with this coaching staff. I think Kevin O'Connell, yes, there was a little bit of luck involved last year with Kevin O'Connell, but that team was still able to get the ball across the goal line, up across the finish line, get across the finish line with a lot of victories last season. And then you add Brian Flores, who I think is a really good football coach. The Miami situation, everything that went down, I don't know how much blame to really put on him. I really like him. And I think he's a fantastic addition to this coaching staff. All right, Craig, give me a
quick
new
shout out too. Also, Mike Smith is there. We like him. We like Mike Smith. He coached.
Oh yeah, we love Mike Smith.
We like him. So he went with Pat in there to coach their defensive line. I think it's just another. That's worth interrupting Kit for. I think that was a worthwhile
former Chief Mike Smith. He was one of the best parts of that last year of Bob Sutton's defense.
Craig and I really enjoyed him too. Like, we thought he was really good. We thought he had a chance to stay on and maybe replace Sutton. And he's clearly not taking that step. But boy, you can't argue with the success he's gotten with Green Bay with their pass rushers, and then the 1 year he's kind of had there with the Vikings. Solid background he's building there as a pass rush coach.
Fine. Give me a new edition, Craig.
New edition, a song? No. I'm gonna take the easy one here. I'm gonna take Jordan Addison.
Don't you dare.
We loved Jordan Addison. That is a guy that is tailor-made to walk into the NFL and play at a high level at wide receiver. Now you're giving him to Keenan McCardell. And he doesn't see any doubles ever because Justin Jefferson is on the field. Those two together in that offense are ridiculous weapons. He's going to have so much space. He's going to be able to play off the line of scrimmage a little bit more. He's going to be able to do more with what he's got in this offense than a lot of offenses in the league. This is a really perfect fit, being a 1B. I'm not even going to call him a number 2, a 1B to a serious upper tier number 1 in Justin Jefferson here. I think that alone, like those two guys alone, this offensive line could suck. TJ Hawkinson could be terrible. They could get nothing out of their running backs. And just having those two on the field, I truly believe that much in Jordan Addison. I think that is enough to get them in a lot of games that maybe they have no business being in.
Well, since Craig has stolen mine from one of the biggest of my guys and draft crushes I had this year,
you're welcome,
Jordan Addison, I will go to the other side of the ball and I guess the one guy that can fix the qualm of losing Zadarius Smith and Danielle Hunter not being healthy, and that is them bringing in Marcus Davenport over from the New Orleans Saints. I have not been the biggest fan of Davenport. I thought coming out of college, he just kind of ran over 5'6" running backs at low level of competition and didn't do a lot else. And honestly, I think that's kind of what he did in the NFL too. He ran straight lines and is big, long, and strong and ran through some guys, had a couple good seasons, got injured, wasn't consistent, but there's still enough raw talent there that you get him with a guy like Mike Smith, who has had success with Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith, with Danielle Hunter, guys of similar athletic profiles and builds and strengths and weaknesses. So I think there's a chance there if he can replace what they lost in Zadarius Smith, or give them a future guy to maybe move on from Danielle Hunter, whether it's, this offseason or next year. I think that'll be big for this defense if he really can step up and kind of make that big jump to be a consistent top tier, or even just kind of like number 1B pass rusher. I think that'll be big for this Vikings team.
Let's go back to another former my guy for I think all of us. And like it's kind of weird because I don't think they've made a ton of big splashy additions to this team, and you guys have just outlined the two biggest ones. But Bayron Murphy, you heard that right. Bayron Murphy, one of the guys that we really liked coming out of the draft, signed with the Minnesota Vikings this offseason. He's coming off injury. It's kind of been an up and down career for him in Arizona. There were some bright spots for him at times, but it was kind of the best way to explain it was up and down. I think the contract opportunities kind of represent that up and down nature. But this is a guy that, as a team that's looking to try to, rebuild on the fly, reset on the fly, it's a worthy swing for them to just go at a guy of his caliber. I'm going to look up his contract real quick because I did want to double check that because I think it was a smaller contract, 2 years, 17 and a half, only $7 million guaranteed or $12 million guaranteed. So like it's decent money, but it's just been kind of up and down. It's not your high level cornerback play. You're paying for a cornerback too. They're kind of hoping to catch him. We'll see what happens with him in his contract and his situation, but he's kind of been up and down in Minnesota. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.
Craig, give me a player to watch for the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, I'm going to hit the like button and hit the subscribe button first, Kent, because you didn't. Thank you. I'm going to keep my eye on TJ Hawkinson. Vikings traded for him in the middle of last season. Clearly felt like they needed a tight end that can come in and do, be an inline blocker, go out, catch passes really well. He got 60 passes in 10 games. Like he was highly productive from an on-field perspective. Yeah, his yards per reception did drop from earlier on in his career, but that's a contributor. That's a guy that they felt like they needed to get the ball to a lot. Now you've got a guy like Jordan Addison out there alongside of Justin Jefferson. I talked about how much space is going to be created. I can see defenses spending a lot more time focused on those receivers, focused on stopping a lot of the things outside the numbers or maybe a little bit deeper down the field. And that can leave some of the more shallow and intermediate areas of the field open for a guy like TJ Hawkinson. He may not have lived up to his draft spot yet in the NFL, but I do think that he is a very good tight end that is going to see more space. I think back to the Kansas City Chiefs, and when we started to see Travis Kelce really strongly come into his own and become that guy that was clearly tight end one amongst the league. A lot of this was because teams were so focused on Tyreek Hill, making sure Sammy Watkins didn't do anything, making sure those receivers didn't do much. He had all the space underneath to work that helped him grow and get to that extra tier here. I'm not saying TJ Hawkins is going to get to a Travis Kelce tier, but I can see him bringing his game up a notch this year.
Kit, you can go next, buddy.
I had a feeling that you were going to do that. I'm going to go off the beaten path a little bit.
Oh, if you take the guy that I am trying to steal at the end, I'm leaving. Just letting you know.
Are you looking at the pass?
Just go for it. Just rip it. Okay.
So Adam Thielen's gone, and Justin Jefferson obviously gets a lot of the attention. KJ Osborne, last year kind of put together a pretty solid season. He had, I think, 650 yards receiving his last year. Starting to get a little bit more involved, a little bit of volume, and it turned out pretty well for him. He had a kind of a productive year. I think KJ Osborne is primed to take another step. He's still a younger guy. He put together, like I said, a pretty productive year. It's like 11 yards per reception, something like that. Nothing it wasn't too crazy from a volume perspective or explosiveness perspective, but he still made plenty of plays down the field. You can watch some of those games and see him making some of those catches down the field. I like KJ Osborne. I'm kind of curious to see how they get him involved because I think he's their bona fide wide receiver 3 now.
Okay, that's solid. Not where I was going. I wanted to go last because I'm getting 2 in here. I think the obvious one is Alexander Madison's taking over for Dalvin Cook.
That's a good one.
He's kind of got to be a big deal for them. Last year was Dalvin Cook's least productive year from a per touch basis, rushing yards per attempt and receiving yards per catch. it wasn't his best year. And now they're moving on from him. It's kind of, was he at the end of the road? Are they not utilizing running backs great? I don't know. We're going to find out and see what they have in Alexander Madison, because I think he will help. However, the guy that I'm going with, Kyrus Tonga, nose tackle out of BYU. One of my guys coming out of BYU. Kind of bounced around the NFL for a little bit, but now sliding into a starting role, the starting nose tackle role. This man is a block eater. He is taking on doubles. He is freeing up linebackers. He's freeing up safeties working down into the box. He's not going to have the sexiest stat line of all time, but buddy, watching him play is a pure joy.
Okay. Craig?
It's equal opportunity players to watch, Kent.
Yeah, we know. This is just you. Give Maddie one. He's going to take two. How does this team beat the Chiefs, Craig?
Offense. I mean, realistically, it's offense. It's Justin Jefferson going God mode and Jordan Addison sprinkling a little bit in. I mean, like, Brian Flores is going to do enough to get off the field on occasion. Like, despite running this defense down, yes, the Chiefs offense is way better than it with the talent that they have out there. But Brian Flores will throw enough at the Kansas City Chiefs to get off the field enough times to where if a guy like Justin Jefferson gets after these sophomore corners a little bit, they haven't really seen a guy like Justin Jefferson out there, gets after him a little bit, I can see them hanging with the Chiefs. I don't know about beating them, but I can definitely see them hanging with the Chiefs well into the fourth quarter because he's just that kind of player.
Well, is this game a primetime game? Does anyone know? Anyone have to know off the top of your head?
Nope. It's a 3:25 game. It was in the chat earlier, so yeah.
Ooh, but see, if it's a 325er, which really means 425, that might be like America's game of the week or whatever. It's a little dicey. It's a little dicey for Kirk. I don't know. I know primetime's real bad for him. I don't know about the
it's
America's
on CBS. Could be.
I mean, like, he has a chance, right? It's not nighttime, so there's a chance. That's their chance. It's not a primetime game. The Vikings have a chance. I mean, like Craig said, it'll be offensively. It'll be them scheming up ways to beat the Chiefs defense, which, if we've known anything from them through the middle half of the year, through the first 10 weeks, they are very beatable. They are very open to giving up big plays at times. And they kind of tighten it up later on. We will see if that happens this year. But yeah, that's the Vikings' chance. You get good Kirk because it's not a primetime game, and you find some time you find space in this Chiefs defense early on in the year to exploit.
I think the defense is going to hit the ground running this year. I think they're going to be a lot better early on in the season just because there's a lot of familiarity. This isn't your standard built from the studs, ground up defense. Like you kind of hear them talking this week. It's like, I think they're able to disguise stuff better, which they definitely need to do this year. And it works really good against Kirk because, who is the Chiefs?
No, I don't know. Did you want to elaborate on Kirk Cousins?
I don't. I've said enough on Kirk Cousins, and I'm gonna save it for the regular season. But
we're going to be talking about Kirk Cousins a lot because he's in the NFL, the Netflix documentary that Patrick Mahomes is also part of.
I think that's Kirk Thuggins, actually.
Are you allowed to say that?
I don't know. That was his nickname, right?
Is he allowed to have that nickname?
I don't know. Who is the Chiefs non-Mahomes MVP, Craig?
Milk. No, the Chiefs non-Mahomes MVP. I'm going to go with Kadarius Toney in this game. I think that there's going to be a lot thrown at the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Brian Flores is going to try and bring everything he can. I think there are a lot of opportunities for Patrick Mahomes to get the ball out quick, lots of bubble screens that they can get the ball to Kadarius Toney and have him work in the open field. I don't love this secondary. I don't love the way that they can tackle in this secondary, if I'm being honest. Byron Murphy, good football player. Andrew Booth Jr., good-ish football player. I look at this secondary and I see one that maybe is going to struggle to take the proper angles. Maybe he's going to struggle to bring down a guy that can be elusive in the open field. I think Kadarius Toney could have a big game and be the non-Mahomes MVP just by getting the ball out quickly to him in the flat and having him do his thing.
So if I was going to pick a non-Mahomes MVP, we're talking offense, we're talking outscoring the opposition. I think I would have to lean into relying on Travis Kelce over the middle of the field, picking apart some zone defense. Now, here's the tricky part. Flores likes to blitz. He likes to get aggressive. He's going to send a lot of guys. So like that's a lot of cover 0, a lot of cover 1. And like, I guess that means less double teams to send at Kelce. It sounds like a favorable matchup on paper. I don't know how to play out in the games. I think he's usually pretty good in game time. So I'm going to trust Kelce this time because of the stylistic matchup against that aggressive Vikings defense.
It's a great point, Maddie. I just want to commend you for finding that little advantage there this week.
I felt like I was going out on a limb this time, but I'll we'll bring it safer later on.
I'm going to go with L'Jarius Sneed. We've seen him have a propensity to want to follow the best receiver on a team when there's a true number 1. Justin Jefferson seems to be that guy. Now, maybe it's a little bit too early for them to be doing some of that stuff. We'll see. But I could see L'Jarius Sneed wanting to get up into J. Jeff's business. And I think he'll have a lot of success because Chris Jones is going to be in Kirk Cousins' face, and Kirk Cousins is a coward against pressure. Guess the line, Craig.
Oh, we didn't do this last week without you.
I wasn't about to look it up.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to guess Chiefs minus 3.5 in this one.
Maddie?
Is this even a home game? I don't even know.
It's at the Vikings.
Okay.
Yeah.
Professional podcast.
It's schedule. We know how I feel about the schedule. Talking mid-June.
Love it.
4. Flat
4. I think it's 3.5. I'm with Craig. I agree with that. So,
but you don't actually have this. We're just actively like guessing into the ether, and no one's going to come back and double check this.
I've scoured the internet for lines beyond week 1, and I haven't been able to find them.
Killer segment. I love this.
It's fun. We're guessing. It's literally called Guess the Line.
I can't wait for people to really circle back to this in mid-season and remember.
I think 3.5 makes sense.
Craig, you know what? Youthful Regis would never allow this kind of guessing game on his game shows.
It's absolutely true.
Youthful Regis would make us do math.
Man, there's a finite answer. There's a loser. There's a winner and a loser.
This is why I win.
Guys, I want to throw some stats at you here.
Yeah.
The last time the Denver Broncos beat the Kansas City Chiefs, Creed hadn't come out. Creed won. The Chicago Cubs.
Thought you were talking about Creed Humphrey.
Yeah,
No.
I was confused as well. It's like, wait
it's been a long time.
Movie, yeah, exactly. The movie Creed. The Chicago Cubs had yet to win their first World Series in over 100 years.
Still, have they done that now?
Guess what the number 1 movie or number 1 song was the last time the Broncos beat the Chiefs?
I'm curious what Maddie's answer is here too.
Yeah, I really want to. What is it? Craig?
I have no idea.
It's a Taylor Swift song.
Good guess. It was What Do You Mean by Justin Bieber. It had just...
I got it right.
It had just beat I Can't Feel My Face by The Weeknd.
Who?
Charles Woodson was still in the NFL. Nah, to be fair, Charles Woodson retired like 3 years ago?
It feels like it, but it wasn't much after that. A guy that was drafted in 1997 was still in the league. Peyton Manning was the quarterback last time. Broncos beat the Chiefs. Some fun facts. Let's talk about week 6. The Denver Broncos. What's the quality of this roster, Craig?
Man. I mean, I looked at this roster last year and I said, man, this is really good. Like, I'm a little bit worried about this team on paper when we were doing this in the offseason last year. Big ol' yikes happened. I still like the receiving weapons. I do. I think that Tim Patrick loss was a big one for him last year. If he's healthy this year, that makes a big difference for them. And adding Marvin Mims, it makes a strength. I think that wide receiver group is really good. They may not have like a super top end number 1 guy, but it's good. Their running backs are good. Javonte Williams, really good. Like he's a good football player. On defense, Pat Surtain's awesome. Like he really an elite cornerback. You would expect that that's going to continue. I am a massive K1 Williams fan. I know he's like my age now, but he's still really good year after year after year. Damari Mathis, they've gotten a lot out of. I like Josie Jewell had a hell of a year for a linebacker last year. They've got a lot of pieces on this team that could really bring it together and make it a quality roster. But it's not, because their quarterback is awful right now. It's just absolutely awful, and it's just weighing them down like an anchor, because this roster on the whole, 2 through 53, is pretty good, like in the upper half of the NFL for sure, but number 1 is just brutal to watch right now.
I think I have a lot of questions about this depth chart, because very clearly Sean Payton took over, and I mean, we're not going to be able to touch on all the new additions they brought in, but they're all these Sean Payton-esque guys, and guys brought in to change the identity of this team. And that makes their roster look very odd, because you have a quality wide receiving room with a quarterback who is kind of, wants to air the ball out, wants to cook, wants to do all these things. But then you have an offensive line that they're bringing in a bunch of road graders in, a bunch of run blockers and guys to take the ball out of his hands. And defensively, it's kind of the same thing. It's a good secondary with some pass rushers that want to pin their ears back and kind of get after the opposing quarterback, but then you're not having a high scoring offense. So you're kind of building this odd mismatching pieces of a power running football team with some pass rushing components on the other side that I don't know if are great in their terms of how they're built to stop the run and get into this big physical game. So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to play out. I still have great questions about the offensive line, the quarterback play. How does this play out? This combination of having a guy like Zach Allen and Randy Gregory and now Frank Clark, and like, just how are these guys all going to hold up against the run? Are they going to really get to pin their ears back and get after the passer? And it's just, there's a lot of question marks, I think. Good team, not a bad team, not a bad collection of players, just an interesting matching of players.
I think it's not talent collecting. I mean, because I think that's unfair to what they're doing, but it does feel like they are in between identities a little bit. Like you said, there's some things. I mean, their second group of receivers, it's tiny, but like the second group of receivers that they have, like behind Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, Jerry Jeudy, Marvin Mims, and KJ Hamler, some smaller speedster types. That's just he brought Marquez Callaway with them. Yeah, like I feel like Ben Powers and Mike McGlinchey is an interesting group of signings along the offensive line. Like I just, that's a little bit, it's unique, but I don't know. It is kind of I don't want to say a complete mismatch, but there are some pieces that are a little bit, I don't know. I think it's a good way of phrasing. It's kind of like it's almost in flux. Quality of the staff, though, Craig.
I mean, they're trying. They're throwing a lot at this. They really are. If they're going to fix it, it's going to come from this staff. And bringing in Sean Payton, obviously, the big move there. But aligning him with Joe Lombardi, a guy that comes out of that system, like there's going to be no question what offense they're running. Like they're going to be fully aligned on what they're going to do. I think the biggest miss of the offseason was Denver not retaining Ejiro Evero. Like he was.
I thought you were going to say not getting Rex Ryan.
No, no, definitely not. No. Yeah, maybe Bob Ryan. But Evero was such a good coach that got that defense to buy in, like truly buy in, when they had somebody at the helm that was just lost as a head coach and a quarterback that was running the team from his own private, office somewhere else, separated from the team. Getting a group of guys to stay together, that's difficult to do. At the very least, they're bringing in a guy like Vance Joseph, a guy with a lot of experience. He's played in the league, or he's been in the league a long time. He knows what Patrick Mahomes brings to the table. Not saying that he's going to be able to step up and stop it, but this isn't a guy that's going to be blindsided by anything. He's not going to come in with a whole bunch of fear about what can happen and what can't happen. It's a good coaching staff. It really is. It's a lot of years, a lot of experience. It may not be the best one out there, but they certainly swung for the fences with these guys on this one.
I'm torn. I long have stood by the belief that I think Sean Payton is right up there with Andy, and Kyle Shanahan is the best offensive mind coaching in the NFL, that his offensive system is kind of that flawless, and he's always going to find these different answers for different types of players. Look at what he did with a Drew Brees that could throw the ball, and then what he did with the Drew Brees who couldn't throw the football, right? Like, there's just entirely different offenses there with different weapons. So I love what he can do, his offensive mind. The problem is he's got whatever Russell Wilson is right now, right? And then the way they're building this team is taking all the pressure off of Russell Wilson. So it's almost like he's trying to build the late Drew Brees kind of offense for Russell Wilson, but that's not Russell Wilson's game.
That ain't gonna work.
He doesn't drop back, quickly process what's happening, and just throw these little tiny darts immediately. He holds the ball. He wants to push it downfield, which is fine. Peyton's done that in the past. But then what have you done with this roster to make me think that that's how you're going to try to play, by bringing in 18 running backs and all these power blocking offensive linemen that aren't really good at pass protection? So I don't know what's going to happen. I feel like this might be one of those situations where Peyton's kind of gearing up for the long haul, and it might take them a second. So I like the individual parts of some of their coaching staff. I really like the idea of Sean Payton. I just hope the NFL hasn't passed him by and he does actually have an answer without Brees. I also have to say, I think the coaching staff's really safe. I love Sean Payton. I like what he can do. I like his ability to innovate, but it's just a lot of safe guys. It's just a lot of safe choices, a lot of guys that have been around the league. And they're like, yeah, these guys will fix it. Like, I think this coaching staff's going to undergo a lot of changing even if Payton stays there over the next 2 to 3 years, because I just don't know if these are guys that are going to be there for a long time.
I don't know. I don't think safe's the right word for me. I like the quality of this staff. If I isolate just the talent that this group has in their coaching staff, like, I really like, especially if you look at the figureheads that they've got here. I believe in Sean Payton. I think he knows what he's getting into. The good news is he's an alpha, and if anybody's going to get through to Russell Wilson, it's going to be a guy like Sean Payton. So I think that matters. Joe Lombardi, yeah, okay. You want to talk safe? We can talk safe on him. Like, I think that's the one that's probably the most safe to me. But again, Joe Lombardi paired with Sean Payton, I think, is a really quality battery there. And so I don't mind Joe Lombardi. I think Vance Joseph did more with less at times in Arizona, and he didn't get dealt the best hand all the time, and he was able to put competitive defenses together at times, despite Steve Keim's horrendous at his job. Horrendous at his job. So bad. And just, you want to talk about talent collection? That's talent collection. So I like Vance Joseph. I'm a fan of his. I'm a fan of what's ever coming after this break, too.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network. Entertain, educate, inform. KC Sports Network.
Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, take a sip if you're so inclined. Is that a LaCroix, Matthew?
Yes, it is. I was muted, so I wasn't drinking into the microphone, not expecting it to be thrown to me, but you are in fact correct. Your LaCroix eye is on point.
The next time you're in a microphone's the first. Like, yours is always like down in the corner of the screen. Yeah, you're not up,
Yes.
You're not up here. So you would have been fine.
No.
I don't think it would have
Correct.
picked it up. But anyways, appreciate everybody hanging out
If I hit it
with
with
us.
the can. If I,
That
Just looking out
like
for the people.
button, that subscribe button helps us grow a channel. 5-star reviews also very much appreciated. That also kind of goes a long way in helping the word get out about KC Sports Network. And
I have a request for 5-star reviews this time. We're off the cheeseburger scale. We know it's great. It'll probably return this time. In your 5-star reviews, if you guys leave them, please let us know which movie you enjoyed more: Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Horrible Bosses, or Hot Fuzz. So leave us a 5-star review. Let us know. You can even trash us in there, but you just leave that 5-star review. Then tell us which movie of Hot Fuzz, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and Horrible Bosses you think is the best, please. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for the time.
This is going great. Give me a new addition to the Denver Broncos that you like, Craig.
The new addition that I really like for the Denver Broncos is Frank Clark. I just think that there's enough turnover that they have going on inside that organization, they needed somebody that was a little bit more of a stabilizing force. And they did that with the coaching staff for certain. We talked about all the experience there. Frank Clark, who knows how much of a factor he's going to actually be for this defense. They do play a 3-4. I know that doesn't really matter. As soon as you get to sub packages, all of a sudden he's comfortable playing from a 2-point stance and all that. But a lot of questions about what you're going to do with him from a base standpoint. Vance Joseph drops his offensive linebackers a lot. So I don't know that that's what you want Frank doing. I don't know that's what Frank wants to be doing. So even if he's on there just to kick down in sub packages, be that guy, help bring up some of these younger guys that are out there. I mean, a stabilizing force with a guy like Randy Gregory, Baron Browning, like that makes a ton of sense. And maybe he can help develop guys like Nick Benito and Jonathan Cooper that were guys that I liked coming out. You know, they weren't the flashiest names, but as mid-round guys, I really liked those guys, and the Broncos picked them up. I think Clark is a smart signing for them. I think he's going to help that group a lot. And frankly, I don't want to play him. I just don't want to play him in Kansas City.
You can go, Kent.
Michael Burton.
You legitimately took the guy I was going to pick. I am furious right now.
That's good. I'm glad. You've earned it. Good on Michael Burton to get a little bit of money from the Denver Broncos. Thank you for helping usher in the no fullback era for Kansas City. Also, keep an eye out on Drew Sanders. He's a 3rd-round pick, very high-quality athlete, a little bit of pass rush background, a little bit of linebacker background. High-quality athlete, though. That's going to be interesting to see how they utilize him, how they weaponize him. A little bit Leo Chenelli, if you want to, like a little bit of Leo Chanel as far as like not necessarily play style entirely, but like you're getting a really good dense athlete. You might be able to blitz him a little bit. Who knows? Like they're going to rush him a little bit. Those are the 2 guys I'm keeping an eye on. So what do you got?
Well, since my guy of Michael Burton was stolen to be added to their power run game, I guess I'm just going to have to go with Tremont Smith, the kick returner who played with the Houston Texans last year, a former Chief. A while back, I understand.
Weird.
He is he's a depth corner for them. He is also now probably going to be their starting kick returner. He's pretty good at it. I know the kickoff rules are making it harder for return men to stand out, but that's why it's a huge deal. If Tremont Smith can, stand out above the rest in this era of kick returners not mattering and stuff like that, that's going to be big for them. So give me Tremont Smith as their new addition to watch.
Bunch of former Kansas City guys. If you can't beat them, chief them. Players to watch, Craig. What do you got?
Well, I'm going to go with Russ. I just am. The entire offseason hinges around Russ. And I live out here now. I work with a bunch of Broncos fans that are not optimistic. I'll be frank. I'll be honest. Like, they're optimistic about Sean Payton. They're optimistic about the future, maybe beyond this year or the year afterwards, but they're not optimistic about Russ. And so they look at this guy and they say, what happened? He got a little full of himself last year. He was allowed to kind of run unchecked. Sean Payton has basically said, we are not doing that this year, laying the law down there. If he does not step up early this season, if they do not see some sort of turnaround both off the field and on the field, this is a situation that I could see this organization pulling the parachute. Like, it might be Jarrett Stidham time sooner than you think. And those conversations are happening amongst some Broncos fans right now, because if Russ is not the answer in year 2, they want to go get Caleb Williams. They want to go get somebody that matters, a Drake May. Go get the guy in the draft, because as it stands right now, they have whiffed on that guy too many times. And then they went out and they spent a whole bunch of money on a free agent to try and recapture what they did there with Peyton Manning, and they whiffed on that too. So if that doesn't work, they are going to try and pivot hard into this. I can see it, maybe not by this point in the season, but I can see at some point in the season next year, if Russ is not playing up to snuff, that he gets benched and they're just willing to eat whatever that contract is, because even though it's a lot, because they just can't have that guy around anymore.
I'm going to go with somebody that's going to help Russell Wilson, hopefully, well, not hopefully, I guess, as a Chiefs fan, but for them, hopefully perform well. And Greg Dulcich, out of UCLA.
Dang it.
Yeah, get it. Sit down, Kent. So we're going to take Greg Dulcich. I really liked him coming out of UCLA. I think he's a really good receiving tight end. And I think with the wide receiver group that has a Jerry Jeudy and a Cortland Sutton and Tim Patrick coming back, that should open up a lot of space over the middle of the field for a really good seam runner, for a tight end that is good at running dig routes and these things where he can pull away from linebackers and safeties. Maybe not an elite blocker to kind of go with this power run game, but he's capable enough that they can still use him in these two tight end sets. So I think Dulcich is in for like a big step up this year. So, if you're a fantasy footballer and you like to find you're looking for a sleeper at tight end or something, I'm terrible for fantasy football advice, but Greg Dulcich is still a guy I think is taking a big step this year.
I'm going to just add on a couple thoughts to that because I do have some things. 33 catches, 411 yards, 2 touchdowns in 10 games for Greg Dulcich last season. Like, he had a sneaky solid season in a short amount of time. And you mentioned him not being a great blocker. The other thing I was going to add, I'm not equating him to Jimmy Graham, but I mean, we've seen Sean Payton utilize a tight end that can't block well and is good up the seam before. So this is a guy that I think could have plenty of success with Sean Payton. Let's see here. Let's go with how does this team beat the Chiefs? And we're doing all the team previews. We're not doing each individual game. So can the streak end? Does the streak end this year, Craig? And how does it happen if it does?
No, it doesn't. But how it happens if it does, Russell Wilson plays like he did against Kansas City last year. Those were arguably the only 2 games that were worth a damn from him last year. Yeah, he had some towards the end of the year after Hackett was gone that were okay, but he played decently against the Chiefs at times. If he plays like that, and they've got their full complement of wide receivers here, this defense plays pretty well under Vance Joseph. They can hang around. They gave the Chiefs a little bit of trouble at times last year. Now, obviously, didn't end up mattering. Chiefs win both of those games. They move right along. Not a big deal. It's a divisional game. It's tight. This one's in Denver. So, it's one that could just be a weird divisional game for the Chiefs. And this team does have enough talent, if Russ plays well enough, that they could fight. They could fight and claw a little bit in a C- or a B- game for the Kansas City Chiefs and make it close.
So, it's hard because the Broncos over the past few years have played the Chiefs relatively close. They're losing a lot, but they play them pretty tight. They do a pretty good job of playing them close. They make it difficult. Their offense always seems to slightly play a little bit over their expectation versus the Chiefs, where the defense always does play them a little bit close, especially some of these last couple times. Like, it's been closer games. And like Craig said, Russell Wilson did have good games against the Chiefs. They seem to figure something out. The problem is you're looking at essentially an entirely different offensive system that's going to be going up against the Chiefs this year. And I don't know if this team is built offensively to score enough points to go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs. So then it goes back to the defense, which has a ton of talent and has given the Chiefs trouble in the past. But Evro's not there anymore. They brought in Vance Joseph, who, the last time the Chiefs saw a Vance Joseph defense had no problems carving it up and down the field. And really the last couple times they played him, they haven't had as much difficulty as they had with Evro coaching a Denver Broncos defense. So I don't think Vance Joseph is bad. I just don't know if his style of defense necessarily slows the Chiefs down as much as some others. So it would really just have to be the talent on defense taking over, them making everything difficult for the Chiefs. Maybe you get a couple turnovers off of Mahomes trying to force the ball again, and then you get these Russell Wilson games where he's all of a sudden playing like he used to, and Sean Payton's calling a perfect game. Like, there's clearly a path. It just is really, really narrow for the Broncos right now. And the thing they need the most, actually, more than anything else, I meant to lead with this. Justin Bieber's going to have to come out with the new #1 song, apparently.
It'll be a short week for the Chiefs home game against the Broncos in week 6.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Thursday night game. Regular rest for the Denver game week 8. I don't know, man. I don't think it happens. I don't think they can. Good luck. Who's the Chiefs non-Mahomes MVP against the Denver Broncos, Craig?
Isaiah Pacheco. The first matchup that this team had last year, Isaiah Pacheco got to play a little bit more, got 13 carries, 70 yards, and had another 3 receptions for 23 yards. Didn't get into the end zone that game, but obviously 93 yards, That's very good. That was a very good game for this team. He played particularly well. And the second matchup, that was right during the end of the season when they were really integrating in Jerick McKinnon, getting his legs back under him before the playoff run. Isaiah Pacheco didn't play as much, was still effective, got into the end zone, was still pretty effective. I think that this is a prime time to do this. I think that Vance Joseph is going to try to be teeing off, trying to be affecting, Patrick Mahomes, the passer, as much as he can. I think that he's going to play a little bit more of a 2-deep shell or a 3-deep shell. And I think what we're going to see, maybe a few more lighter boxes for Pacheco and a heavier run game, especially at this point in the season with Andy Reid not wanting to reveal too much. It's in Denver. Just give him the rock a whole bunch of times and see what happens. It worked when the first time these two teams played last year. So Pacheco's my guy.
All right, let's read off the last 5 games from Travis Kelce against Vance Joseph defenses. 122 yards and a touchdown, 79 yards and a touchdown, 78 yards and a touchdown, 133 yards and a touchdown, 160 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, those are games against the Cardinals, or one game against the Cardinals, and 4 against the Denver Broncos, whose defensive coach was Vance Joseph. So I'm going to go with Travis Kelce because, well, he kind of beats up Vance Joseph's defenses. It actually was a thing that, hey, Travis Kelce always has really good games against Broncos defense, or the Broncos for a while. Vance Joseph left. Evero came in, and then it was a lot more hit or miss. There was some really good games, but also some 30-yarders, some 40-yarders mixed in there. That wasn't the case for Vance Joseph. So give me Travis Kelce. He apparently loves to go up against Vance Joseph, so it's kind of hard to go against that guy here.
I mean, you just come with the facts. I know that you don't want to keep choosing Travis Kelce, Maddie.
It's hard.
I know you don't. It's really hard, but it's hard to ignore stats like that. So I'm glad that you come correct that way.
I mean, I can't come up with something like that for every game. There's just no way a stat like that or a matchup like that exists every single week.
Definitely not.
The last time these two teams played, do you know who led the Chiefs in receiving yards?
Oh, sorry.
Justin Bieber.
My bad.
It was Kadarius Toney.
Yep.
4 catches, 71 yards. Saw a little performance. Give me Kadarius Toney again. I think, especially by, there's kind of like a weird little, it's like a mid-season series with the Broncos. Early, it's by week 6, they should have their, be well established. They should have their feet wet within the offense. They should have a little bit more identity in what they're doing. If Kadarius Toney is healthy, I think he's going to have a fantastic season. He had 4 catches for 71 yards.
A lot of pressure on that hammy.
Well, no pressure, no diamonds. And I mean, he's literally getting a diamond ring right now. So
have they announced it yet? Like I just gotta say, update: Chris Jones still not confirmed to be there, and also I don't think we've seen the ring yet.
Is Chris Jones not confirmed though?
No.
Nobody has said that he is there. Everybody has said they have not seen him.
Okay.
Yet.
Well, my player to watch is Kadarius Toney. Let's guess the line on this, Craig. The home game, Thursday Night Football, Chiefs-Broncos, week 6. What's the line?
Short week in Denver.
No, it's at home. It's at home.
It is?
The
Which
week
one?
6 games at home. The week 6 games at home. The short week's at home. Confirmed.
You sure about that? Okay.
Then
the Vikings game was at Minnesota.
Yes.
Okay. I thought he said that one was at home. I'm so confused right now. Anyway, short week. It was 8.5. The line was 8.5 the first time that these two teams played last year. I don't expect that it's going to be that high. I think that Sean Payton's going to have him coming out a little bit better here. But Chiefs will still be favored, even on a short week. But divisional game, tight game. I'm going to say 5.5 on this one.
Okay, so first of all, thanks to our phenomenal producer, Tucker D. Franklin, behind the scenes, I won the first round of Guess the Line with my Chiefs favored by 4, because that was the line for the Chiefs at the Minnesota Vikings. So I'm going to also win this one by guessing the Chiefs are going to be – this was a home or away game?
Week 6 is a home game.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
4-day turnaround home game.
Okay, Chiefs by 6.5 is going to be the line.
Listening right now.
This is great podcasting.
This is chaos.
This is my bit. It's my bit to ask where the game is, and Craig did it, and I didn't know what to do afterwards, so I just decided to ask again.
Guess the line.
He
I
did.
did 6.5.
I'm
Thanks for
gonna go-
listening, Kent. Even when you're here, you don't listen.
I'm gonna go 7.5 at home. Week 6. Tucker, what is the line? 7.5. Let's go. Maddie, you ready for this other L too?
No chance.
Well, never mind. Week. All right, never mind. I'm not gonna do it. Week 8. Week 8 at Denver. Guess the line, Matthew.
Wait, hold on. I'm so confused.
Week
what we're doing
8
now.
at Denver.
We're-
Guess the
They're
line.
turning around 2 weeks later, and they're playing it because we're not going to cover the Week 8 game. The line is going to be, if that one's -7.5, then it's -5 for that one for the Chiefs.
4.5.
-5.5.
3.5.
I win
Tucker
again.
says-
2-1 for Maddie. Takes the lead. Wins another game.
Price is Right rules, man.
Oh, this
That's
is
gonna do it.
awesome.
That's it. I'm done. That's gonna do it for the KC
Phenomenal.
Laboratory. Thank you so much. Thank God this one's over. We'll catch you later.
Collecting
Fun.
dubs left and right.